Hey there, you're listening to Tea with the K's, where we get honest about what's hard, laugh through all the awkward stuff, and uncover the magic of real connection.
We're Kim and Christine, and we're best friends, moms, and coaches who think that love is more than just an emotion. It's an everyday, powerful practice. And every week, we're going to be pouring truth into our cups. And that's rooted in our signature love framework, which we work with our clients and in everyday life.
Yep. And this isn't just surface talk. We're going to be diving deep into relationships and on parenting and healing and self-leadership. Together, we'll explore how to live and love more consciously, one honest conversation at a time. And this week, Kimmy, what are we talking about?
We're talking about neediness versus our core needs.
Yes.
So friends, mugs up, hearts open, and let's talk about love, growth, and everything in between.
Yes. And this question around the difference between need and neediness is a big part of our work, because we talk a lot about how, especially in adulthood, where we get stuck is in neediness.
Yeah, because when we're growing up, if our core needs are not met, when we grow up, we are challenged with pain and judgment and doubt. And those are our signals to us that those are our neediness coming out, that our needs were not met in those areas.
So essentially, like a lot of us who went to school and we learned what are the basic needs of a human being, of a child, it's like food, shelter, safety. And that's your primary ones that you think of. But one of the things we don't talk enough about is the emotional needs of a child. The emotional needs are where they get a sense of love and belonging. Belonging is a survival need. If I don't feel like I belong to my tribe, which is my family, then my state of being is always in fear. So if we can raise kids in a state of fear if they don't feel like they belong to us.
Right. Because if you go back to our ancestors, if a child had something wrong with them or they were rejected by the tribe, they would literally be put out for, the earth to take them back. And so this is a survival thing, and we need to belong in order to survive. And that's what Christina is talking about. And we're going to go into what those signals might look like in our everyday life and give you some examples of how they show up and how we can start seeing the neediness and come at it with awareness and come back to our center rather than reacting out of this neediness. And coming back to our center, acting, responding to our environments around us in a different way.
Right. And one of the things that we talk about as far as the core needs and how do we meet our children and each other in our core needs. One is Ella's for listen, I hear you. And even as you listen to this right now, I want you to really think about your daily life today, like as an adult, as a teenager, whatever age you are. What does it feel like when you don't feel heard? And as an adult, notice your relationship. Is an issue between you and your partner maybe that you don't feel heard? Have you heard your partner say, oh my gosh, you talk all the time? Is there something going on behaviorally for you that you might be able to look at and be like, I wonder, did I feel heard as a kid?
Yeah, and that also is a reflection in your parenting, and not everyone is a parent, of course, but in your parenting as well. Like how many times you say, you don't listen to me. Why do I have to repeat myself? No one's listening. And that's coming from a place of neediness rather than a place of understanding where that neediness comes from.
Yeah, I love that you named that one, because I get that a lot with the moms that I work with, where they're like, I don't know what happens. Like we'll be sitting there trying to figure out something and then I just explode. And I'm like, did you feel heard? No. I'm like, oh, did you feel heard in your childhood? Oh,
yeah.
It's just an unconscious trigger that happens even with our children that makes us pop. And the pop is that old pattern, that old pain that comes up. That's why starting to look at this stuff, not just as far as like a tool of what to do with your children, but how does it play out in your life today in every relationship you have.
Right. And then there's the component of the O, which is to observe, to see, to be seen. Were you seen as a child? And did you feel like you were seen? And how does that play out into your life? You know, are you looking for other people to see you and approve? You know, like, do you see me? Do you see me? Do you see me? Do you see me now? So
Yeah.
that's how it can play out as neediness in our adult life.
Yeah. And how that shows up for a lot of people when we start to unpack their childhood to see what is impacting today. Sometimes you'll hear stories along the lines of like, oh, my sister was the only one that anybody cared about. It was always everything about her, you
Mm.
know, what she did. And everybody was always looking at her. I always felt invisible. So that's another thing that can show up with when there's some neglect in the house too. And when I mean neglect, it's like when we're not seeing and listening to our kids, they can almost feel as if they don't exist.
Right.
They don't matter. And their sense of self is not created because they didn't feel seen.
Yeah.
That's a painful one.
It's a really painful one.
Mhm.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think I experienced that one the most in my childhood. And and as I grew up, I noticed that like I didn't want to be seen as
Yeah.
well. Like I wanted to be seen, but I also didn't want to be seen. So I'd hide a lot. I would make myself invisible. I would shrink myself so that nobody could see me
Yeah.
because I was comfortable. I knew that one.
Yeah. It's funny when you said that, I got such chills. I was like, oh, yeah, that. I recognize that today, if I go into a space with like a group of people and I don't feel seen, like right in the beginning, and I don't feel a connection, I'll leave.
Yeah.
I just walk out.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I remember so many of my friends would be like, Chris, like what happens to you? Like in the middle of the night, you just left. I'm like, I was done. But you didn't say goodbye. I'm like, because I was done. But you can say goodbye. I'm like, no, I can't actually. Because it's literally for me, literally was like, I have nothing.
Yeah. It creates a lot of loneliness, a lot of separation.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And then us adults have to really work through it. And the crazy part about it is looking at your life in your 50s and going, that's stupid. What do you mean? That doesn't even make any sense. On the surface, maybe it doesn't. But when we dig deeper, it's like this, holy shit. Has this been running my show this entire time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine having this conversation and unpacking it. Imagine what it's like to start really seeing that in yourself and being able to do something and deliver something different to your children and the people in your lives.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. It's a really powerful tool to be able to see people in your life, even your friends, your partner, and see them in a different light and observe them and observe what they're going through, because that's when we get to how we can show up in validation and empathy, which we'll jump into.
Yep. So validation is I value you. You have value. So if you see me and I feel heard, there's an intrinsic valuing that can happen in that. Like I know with my kids, when they were little, I'd be driving down the road and I'd come to a red light and I would squeeze one of their toes. Or I would just pause and I would just like, just look at them. I didn't have to say anything, just look at them and they'd go, you love me. I'm like, I love you, without even saying words, right? When you have your kid that's out playing sports and you're there and you're watching them, what you are doing intrinsically is saying, gosh, I value you so much that I'm going to put so many other things to the side so I can be here and watch you. And there's that's when so much intrinsic value starts to be offered over to your kids, and it actually builds them up from the inside out.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting too to point out that in the LOVE acronym, so listen, observe, validate, I love that validate and empathy come after the listening and observing, because when you listen and when you observe, it's like an automatic validation and empathize.
Absolutely.
Automatic.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's cool how they fall in line the way that they're meant to fall in line.
Yeah, because empathy is just the ability to understand, right? And again, and we could just talk about parents for a second. Your kid's trying to say something and saying that they want something. You're like, I don't understand, but I want to hear what you have to say. Like, tell me. Or you're in your marriage and you're trying to say something to your significant other and you don't feel heard and you want to kill them. And then once you do feel heard and they're like, yeah, oh gosh, this is the best. So I was hiking with a girlfriend of mine today, okay? And she moved in with her boyfriend. And she moved into the town he lives in, but she really wants to live in the other town right next door. And she's like, I'm trying to chisel away and chisel away, chisel away. Like, I need to get back to my town. I really want to. So I keep coming at it, keep coming at it. And she goes, so last night we go out, we get home and we're standing there and he sits down as I said, come in here while I take off my makeup. And he's sitting there and she goes, and I bring it up again. And I bring it up again about maybe we can move one day. And he goes, you know what? You know what, babe? I have to be honest with you. You wore me down. If that's what you want, we can move. Do you want to know what happened?
What?
She goes, oh, yeah, I don't think I want to move anymore. She goes, there was something about being heard and acknowledged by him. Like he validated her. He understood what she was saying. He heard her. He's sitting there looking at her as she's speaking. And he's like, and she said, it just felt so true. It felt so true. I felt so validated by him that I didn't need it anymore.
Yeah. It's interesting how that happens a lot. Actually, like your brain does this thing, this trick where you get stuck in this loop in your head, like telling yourself, he doesn't understand, he doesn't understand, he doesn't understand. This is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And then once it's actually spoken out loud, like between the two of you,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, actually, I don't think that is what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she and I talked a lot, and she's like, I had no value growing up in my home. And she had shared how her mom was always the one that was the most important. It was always what mom wanted, always what mom wanted, right? So because it was the focus was always on mom, the attention was always there. She had no importance.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he just met all four needs for her, she was able to go, oh, when she didn't feel the four being validated, being acknowledged with him, they were still triggering, but he met them.
And then she could actually like feel what was actually deeper inside of her, which was, I'm okay being here.
Yeah.
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 And that's not to say that, they're not going to move someday. Who knows? I don't know. Or that the conversation would go the same for somebody else. I don't know. The importance of that is understanding oftentimes. Like, I think she realized that she had this neediness to move. Like, it was like this, neediness creates like an anxiousness underneath a fear. It can start creating fear underneath the surface. And she was like, I think I was realizing like I had this anxiousness and this fear that was just like bubbly until it was acknowledged. Then it was like, I don't actually need that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And we briefly talked about it in the beginning of the call, is like these needinesses that come up, they're usually come in the form of pain, fear, doubt, and judgment. And those are just the signals for you, right? It's just an invitation for you to take a pause. And that's the most important part, is like, just take a beat and to reflect on it. Like, why am I feeling this? Why is this anxiety here? Why is this pain here? Why is this doubt here? And, and usually if it's doubt, there's lack of validation, and then same with judgment, lack of validation, or maybe you feeling like somebody's looking at you differently or judging you, so it's always an invitation to go in and check it out a little deeper.
Always.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps, the difference between need and neediness. It's and there's also I've also had somebody say, what's the difference between need and want? Needs generally are survival. Want is desire. That's how I think about the difference at times. Like, I want a new phone. I don't need a new phone. I
Right.
want a new phone.
Yeah.
You know, I need to feel wanted. I need to feel like I belong. Why? Because it's an emotional survival tool. Hey, Ember.
Hey, that's so fun. Watch trolleys.
I know, I heard.
Yeah.
All right. Can I finish this call?
Yeah.
Thanks, babe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yeah. Oh, and so it's a fun little game where you can play with yourself. This checking it out and noticing if you show up in things in neediness or if you show up in awareness. And usually we can only get to awareness through that pause that we were talking about. The neediness usually just comes out. It's just a natural reaction that we're used to, that we've habitualized. It's something that it's a reaction to an outside event. So this is our invitation to you all to just take a pause. And when you feel those things coming up, those fears, doubts, judgments, and pains, and go deeper and ask yourself why. And it's never a bad thing to ask for help to point those things out. Chris and I, we do sounding boards all the time. When we have stuff come up, we get on a call and we talk to each other and we just sound it out. Because just like your example with the couple, like when you can have that conversation and you can sound it out, then it doesn't have power over you anymore.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, speaking just for myself, I've been doing this work a long time. Can I see my own stuff? It's hard. It's so hard. It's hard to see it. It's hard to name it. And it's hard to hold myself accountable to it. Can I sometimes? Always? No. The more I choose self-inquiry, the more I choose self-responsibility, the more I choose myself, I can get there. And the more I choose that belonging piece again, because it's a core need, like, hey, Kim, here's what's here right now. Help me dive underneath this. What's going on for me? I need it.
Yeah, we all do. And again, and we'll say it over and over and over again, we were not born to do this alone.
No.
Not ever. So we have 9 billion people on the planet. Find somebody and talk.
And if you can't find somebody to talk, you're always welcome to reach out here. We're here. We got you. This is the thing that we both love the most, is meeting people in the essence and truth of this, because when they do and they start peeling back the layers of all this and they start getting to the truth of who they are and what they have accessible to themselves underneath their old stuff, it's just the most beautiful gift I have ever received, is being witness to that.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So, I mean, as always, if something stirred in you today and you want to share it with a friend, please do so. Like and subscribe and send it out to the people you love and maybe somebody that you want to have a chat with about this.
Yeah. So that's it for this episode of Tea with the K's, where the tea is warm, sometimes not always, and the truth is real as best as we can. And we'll see you next time. And be sure to sign up for our latest news and offers at shiftwithlove.com. And as always, keep leading with love the best that you can.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.